Alright, so we've read the word problem. We are ready to define our variables. In the last sentence, it asked us how much does the website charge to download a song and an entire album. So those are our two unknowns. So we would have two variables in this situation. We're going to let x be the amount charged per song. And y, our other unknown, is going to be the amount charged per album. Alright, so that's step one. We had to define our variables. And I want you to give me a good definition. Don't just put song and album. I want more than that. I want you to put the amount charged per song and the amount charged per album. Be specific. Alright, step two. They're asking us to write our two equations. What information do we know? Let's start with Ryan. What do we know about how much Ryan paid and the number of songs and albums he purchased?
He paid $14.95 for 5 songs and an album.
He paid $14.95. So you might underline that. That's an important number we're going to deal with here. He paid $14.95 per total, that's their total, for 5 songs and 1 album. Well, how much does each song cost?
Just trying to figure out.
What do we write? Amount charged per song. What is the amount charged per song? X. So if he purchased 5 songs, how could we figure out how much total money he spent just on songs? 5x. 5 times the amount per song. So 5x plus he purchased some albums. How much is it per album? We don't know. Why? Well, how many albums did he purchase? 1. So how would I represent that? 1y or just y. How much total money did Ryan spend on the albums and songs? $14.95. That is the equation that represents how much Ryan spent. Let's talk about Seth. We know that Seth paid $22.90 for how much?
3 songs, 2 albums.
3 songs and 2 albums. So how much is each song? X. So I have 3 songs per, I have 3 songs. How much does each song cost? So 3x plus 2y because he purchased 2 albums at y dollars. $22.90. That was step 2. Not too painful yet, is it? At this point, we're just where we were yesterday. We're just ready to solve. You get to decide. Do you want to use graphing here? No. You think this is a good opportunity to graph? I don't think so. Definitely not with these decimals. Why are you thinking substitution, Jordan?
Because y is by itself.
Good idea. Y is by itself. Is it going to be easy to solve for y?
Yes.
How do we solve for y?
Subtract 5x.
All right, let's do that. You're probably going to have to write small here in your box. So I'm going to take that first equation, I'm going to solve for y. Jordan suggests we subtract 5x to do that. So we're left with y equals $14.95 minus 5x. Let's circle $14.95 minus 5x. Where are we going to substitute that back into?
Y in the second equation.
For y in that second equation. So let's distribute. 2 times $14.95 is $29.90 or 29.9. 2 times negative 5x. Wait a second. I have way too much. I made a mistake. It shouldn't be there. That plus 2y should not be there. I apologize. 2 times negative 5x is negative 10x equals 2290. Let's add our like terms. 3x minus 10x, negative 7x. Solving for x, we can subtract 2990. So negative 7x equals 2290.
Negative 7.
Okay, minus 2990 is negative 7. Divide by negative 7. What is x?
1.
$1. Come on, you should be writing everything I have down. Sure enough. When you start doing your homework and get it all right, you can help it out. So then. Does that seem like a reasonable answer?
But we still gotta figure out
Wait a second. What is X standing for?
the songs,
What about the songs?
how much it costs.
Does it make sense? I mean, does it seem like a reasonable answer that a song's going to cost $1? Think about iTunes. How much do you pay on iTunes for a song? $1? I mean, sometimes more or less. But I think $1 is reasonable. Now we want to figure out how much we're charged per album, correct? Could we easily do this with the information we have? What are we going to do with this one?
Plug it into the.
Substitute it back in for x. So putting 1 in for x, so 5 times 1 is 5. So 14.95 minus 5 is 9.95. Does that seem reasonable? I think so. So approximately $10 for an album. I think that's comparable to what you might pay on iTunes. I think that does seem reasonable. Now notice that as I am finding my values of x and y, I'm writing it up here back where we defined our variables, aren't I? That's just going to help me to organize my information so that in my next step when I write a sentence, I've got it right there. Seems reasonable, it makes sense. Our last step is to write a sentence that answers the question. Well, the questions here were, how much does the website charge to download a song, an entire album? Well, we would answer that by saying the website charges $1 per song and $9.95 per album. We need a sentence. Make sure you use your units. Our units in this case is dollars, so I'm going to use a dollar sign, but it was meters or miles, whatever the case is. Make sure you do use that in your answer. Any questions on this first problem? Is it much more than we've been doing? We're just adding on to the things we already know how to do. We can do steps 2 and 3 very easily. We can do step 1 fairly easily. It's this writing the equation that's going to be the challenge, but the more you do it, the better that you're going to be at it. Please look at the next example with me. If I have a volunteer, I'd like to read example 2. Thank
day-long tubing trip down the river. The company that offers the tubing trip charges $15 to rent a tube for a person to use and $7.50 to rent a cooler tube, which is used to carry food and water in a cooler. The friends spent $360 to rent a total of 26 tubes. How many of each type of tube do they rent?
Alright. What are they asking us to find?
How many of each type of tube did they rent?
Okay, how many of each type of tube do they rent? Well, how many different tubes are there available to purchase?
Two.
There's two. We have the regular tube, and then we have the cooler tube. So there's our X and there's our Y. And it really, if you get those flip-flops, is it going to matter?
No.
It doesn't matter. We don't have an independent and dependent variable in this case. So let's go ahead and let X be. X could be the number of what?
Tubes.
Number of tubes, okay. Which means Y is going to be
Cooler tubes.
the number of cooler tubes. So tell me some information. What are some things that we know that are going to help us to write our equations?
$360.
Good. We spent, or the friends spent a total of $360. That's important. That's how much total money they spent. So let's talk more about money. We know it was a total of $360. Do we know how much each tube costs? We do. How much does the regular tube cost to rent?
$15.
$15. Well, how many of those regular tubes did they purchase?
X.
X number of regular tubes. So how could I show that if it's $15 per tube,
15X.
15X. Plus, they purchased some cooler tubes. Well, how much do those coolers cost?
$750.
$750. Well, how many of those did they purchase? Why? For a total of how much money?
$360.
$360. Now, if we have two variables, we have to have two equations. Is there any other relevant information that would help us to develop another equation?
26 tubes.
26 tubes. So Taylor, tell me what you're thinking. What could we do with 26 tubes? Let me ask you. How many types of tubes did they rent? Two types. Some are regular and some are the cooler tubes. Thoughts on an equation?
Like do 26 minus X equals Y, or
That would work. That would work. Yes. Yes, that definitely will work. So if you have 26 coolers, you take away how many 26 tubes, and you take away how many cooler tubes, that'll give you the number of regular tubes. Good thinking. That would work. That would work. Let's write that down. Taylor was thinking 26 tubes minus the number of cooler tubes equals the number of regular tubes. That's definitely, I would take that equation. I would take it. Is there another way you could have thought about that second equation?
X plus Y equals 26.
X plus Y equals 26. That would be another option. And really either one of those, it doesn't matter to me, I don't care. Now with Taylor's, the way he had his first equation set up, we could easily do substitution, couldn't we? Okay. You want to go with this first equation? It's going to be the easiest to work with. So I'm going to go with that first equation. Again, I'll take either one. But using that first equation, we're ready to do substitution. Could we have used elimination with the second equation? Would that have been an option? I find it ironic you guys really liked elimination, but we're going back to substitution for both of these problems. And that's fine. It doesn't matter what method we use. So let's go ahead and use substitution. We're going to take 26 minus Y and put it in for X in that first equation. So let's distribute 15 15 times 26 is? 390. 15 times negative y? Negative 15y. 750y equals 360. Let's combine our like terms here. Negative 15y plus 750y is negative 750y. I'm going to go ahead and add 390 equals 360. Hang on just a second. I'm going to get a different answer than I have on my paper. Did I make a mistake?
You put the 390 in front of the numbers.
That shouldn't matter. You're saying right here I'd split those two? Let's go ahead and solve. Let's keep going. Maybe I just made a mistake on my notes. Go ahead, we can solve. We can subtract 390. So we have negative 750y equals negative 30. Divide by negative 750. What does y equal? Okay. Does 4 seem like a reasonable number of cooler tubes to purchase? Yeah, so we've got a negative number here. Would that seem reasonable? I think 4 is definitely reasonable. Okay, 4 cooler tubes. We want to then find the number of regular tubes, so let's substitute in. I'm going to take 4 and put it in for y. (26) minus 4 cooler tubes is how many regular tubes? 26 minus 4 is? 22. Does that seem like a reasonable answer? Does that give you a total of 26 tubes, 22 and 4? I think our answers definitely seem reasonable. Let's go ahead and write our sentence. We could say, the group rented 22 regular tubes and 4 cooler tubes. Your job at this point is to work these 2 problems on the back. This is your homework. You have 2 problems. Please make sure you take time to go through each of the steps. They are very important. They are going to help you to organize your work and arrive at your answer. If you do have the remainder of the class time to do this, please go ahead and get started. If you would like to pair up and work with somebody, you may, as long as you are on task.